Deputy Larissier, thank you for the interview concerning vote of censure and related matters. Just for my readers and viewers, what is a vote of censure?
A vote of censure is where the state says it is unhappy with the members with the minister's performance, but it's one step short of taking the final sanction, which is saying a vote of no confidence, where you're expected to automatically resign.
So, put in simple terms, it's a slap on the wrist. You're looking for a slap on the wrist for the Treasury Minister. It's
a slap on the wrist, or to put it in another term, it's a yellow card.
Okay, so what's the point? What I'm understanding, what is the point? If he's still going to remain in post, everything's going to carry on as normal, what's the point of this vote of censure?
Well, as a result of the debate last Tuesday, it was pretty obvious that certain parties felt that the issue was done and dusted. But in so doing, they'd made enormous misinterpretations, in our view, or shall we say selective interpretations of what was in the two reports.
The two reports? But
the Golden Handshake report and the Lime Grove CAG, the two reports by the CAG.
Because there is actually, the Public Accounts Committee have still got a report to come out on
precisely
on the Golden Handshakes, hasn't it?
So whether they'll go into the same territory entirely as the CAG, obviously we don't know, but they have to comment on the whole issue and the way it was handled.
So you were saying that some of the interpretations are questionable?
Well, yes. For example, the Chief Minister, when he was answering questions on his statement, said that the CAG didn't actually accuse the Treasury Minister of bullying. Now, the interesting thing was he said very little otherwise about the CAG's reports, about their content. He didn't choose to go through them in a methodical way and say A is right, B is maybe wrong, C needs further work, blah, blah, blah. He didn't choose to do that. He chose very quickly to make statements of that kind, very quick statements, and then he moved very quickly to his solutions.
And of course, with it coming as a statement, there's only 10 minutes of questions afterwards, so...
Yeah, we were rather taken aback. Oddly enough, there was a lot of anticipation. A lot of it built up around Deputy Pittman's question, obviously, and Senator Ossoff, it has to be said, he proved very adept at batting off a lot of the questions, and although more than the normal time was given, it wasn't that satisfactory. He then spent a lot of the day proposing legislation, so he was in the spotlight proposing it, and it has to be said, doing in that sense a pretty good job.
It was quite a contrast, wasn't it, from the morning to the afternoon?
Yeah, he was almost enjoying the whole issue of back to the wall, quite frankly, and he was rising to the occasion. Then we had the Chief Minister's statement, with this notion that if Senator Ossoff had more training, and if people like the Chief Minister and the ministers had been monitoring stress more, we wouldn't be where we were. And I found that, as did other members, quite frankly incredulous.
Staggering.
Yeah.
You know, it was a pretty, an extremely poor thing that basically the Chief Minister is going to be a counsellor to...
Well, exactly.
For the
presumably, and I noticed some other media picked this up, and there were items about counselling services in the Houses of Parliament and so forth. I presume if he does see signs, he will immediately dispatch the person to a professional. But of course, that is an issue. I have no problem with that, but it's not the issue.
It's ludicrous, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
How's the Chief Minister going to know anything about counselling and seeing signs? It's absolutely. But our state media churn it out. Almost.
The irony is, of course, to be fair to Senator Ossoff, he is an incredibly active guy, and of course, one of the accusations is that he gets his finger in every pie, and he sometimes moves in at the wrong time. Now, there's a big debate about whether he knew about this and he had to move in, last minute and take this dramatic decision to lower the offer. But he sometimes moves in at the wrong time. So certainly overactivity is very much a feature of his... but overactivity and moving into areas where perhaps he should let the existing politician and the existing chief officer run the show until, there's a collision or there's an unresolvable conflict, the sort of things where a minister has to step in.
Yeah, all right. Well, I want to get on to, because when I interviewed the Senator himself and Senator Ferguson, we discussed where the buck stops at the top. And the top at that particular time was Senator Ozef, the Treasury Minister himself. But it's changed now. The buck has stopped, now goes to the Chief Minister.
Yes.
Because the Chief Minister has given Senator Ozef, the Treasury Minister, his full support, his full backing.
Yes.
So why isn't this vote of censure coming to the Chief Minister? Surely it's going to, if the buck stops at the top, this vote of censure should be going to the Chief Minister, not the Treasury Minister.
You make a very good point there, but the feeling was we are very poor at holding people to account. The CAG's report did focus on the behaviour of certain politicians like Deputy Lefondre, Senator Ozef, as well as obviously the behaviour and actions of certain senior civil servants, and we feel he has to be accountable. But you're quite right. If, for example, in the debate, the state says, yes, there was a real dereliction of duty by the senator or perhaps by others, and we will pass the vote of censure, then we will move on to the council ministers and the chief minister. Yeah.
Well, because if, I think you just said it there, you've answered my next question, if this vote of censure against the Treasury Minister, Philip Ozef, is successful, effectively what you're saying, or what the House will be saying is, they've got no confidence in the Chief Minister.
They've certainly got no confidence in his, you're quite right, in his analysis of the situation and his solution. Yeah.
So it's fair to say, if this vote of censure wins, will a vote of no confidence be coming to Ian Gorst, the Chief Minister?
It could well happen. I know other members think that is what indeed should have happened, as you've just said. We've chosen to focus on the role of the Treasury Minister, his actions, etc., and the fact that this Assembly has got an unbelievably poor reputation for accountability. People forget, this was a major issue with Clothier, that you couldn't, to put it crudely, you couldn't pin a person down because we had the fog of the committee system, we had the fact that committees died when the session ended and you could never follow up retrospective decisions that had led to an awful lot of problems, blah, blah, blah. And the idea was that we could pinpoint accountability, and we've shied away from it. There's only been one successful vote since Clothier.
And against the former Health Minister, Senator Stuart Sivray, is that the one you mean?
No, there was one against the chairman of the scrutiny panel.
So there's two
of the chairman's committee, yeah.
So that makes two.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, because we mentioned the golden handshakes with Bill Ogley and the rest of it. Is there an argument to be said that the finger, again, I want to be careful I don't come across as an apologist I want to try for the Treasury Minister, but I want to try and keep this as fair as I can, that the finger's getting pointed at the wrong person again. He wasn't responsible for the contract of the £500,000 for Bill Ogley. That was Frank Walker. Now, Frank Walker gave evidence to the PAC committee. Well, he gave testimony, which wasn't backed up by evidence, that Bill Ogley was headhunted, that there is a letter that Frank Walker's seen, but nobody else has seen. So, is it fair to be pointing the finger again at the Treasury Minister when there's probably somebody more culpable than him here?
I think you're right in the sense that there obviously there are other people involved, of that there's no doubt. The problem is who's in the Assembly and who isn't at this point in time. And the other issue is the deal that was offered to Bill Ogley was an unbelievable deal, which of course
was negotiated with Frank Walker.
Yeah, but the whole point of it was, as I understand it, was that Bill Ogley could activate the deal simply by saying, I'm being subject to this terrible political pressure. Now, the argument is that political pressure is allegedly came from Senator Ozef.
So why didn't Bill Ogley go through the correct channels and make a complaint? So as far as we can gather, Bill Ogley didn't make a complaint, register a complaint against the Treasury Minister. It looks like he's just cashed his chips in and run off with £500,000.
Well, I presume, when he pressed the button, he said, this is what I've been told by the Treasury Minister, it makes it impossible for me to work in this situation. Now, you're quite right. I mean, what you assume might have happened there if the system had said, look, we can't lose a man like Bill Ogley, let's sit down and talk about it, Bill. But let's face it, he was given an incredible deal, which he was able to activate on his evidence.
So
it was not. It's not a happy situation, to put it mildly.
So, like I'm saying, the finger could be okay. He played his part in it, Senator Oates.
Yes.
Certainly played his part in it, but there's probably somebody more culpable than him.
Absolutely.
Now, isn't there a danger here, because it's almost unprecedented, except for like Lenny Harper and and Stuart Sivray and the likes of the almost unprecedented press that Philip Ozoff's been receiving. Now this vote of no censure, where some of us believe should be going to the Chief Minister now, isn't there a danger that this could have the opposite effect, and some support or sympathy might come towards the Treasury Minister?
Well, there is this notion that my enemy's enemy is my friend. Yes, there is this. I mean, there is a serious debate in the States, to be fair, about the replacement, because obviously if you move a vote of no confidence, and this is what led us to revise our opinion. I mean, obviously we've had all the usual comments that we're spineless, we wouldn't take it to the end.
Well, in fairness, that is a fair argument.
Yeah, yeah. And people, I was invited to join this group last week, but people have been talking about it for weeks, and they've sort of opted out at the last minute. It certainly wasn't the case. There is a strong feeling among certain elements in the States about the replacement, and there's a strong feeling that whatever the perceived flaws of the individual, in terms of the overall package, so to speak, Senator Ozoff taken in the whole, he would be a difficult person to replace, a very difficult person to replace, and people don't want to go that whole route. So that was the feeling we picked up.
So basically, is it fair to say then, you bring this vote of censure because nobody wants the Treasury Minister's job?
No, because our understanding of the mood of members, although you're absolutely right, there was a lot of logic for going to a vote of no confidence, but our understanding of the mood of members, particularly after Tuesday, when things really started to change in the mood of the House, our understanding is it would be very, very difficult to get through a vote of no confidence, and a lot of people, whatever they thought of the individual, would be thinking, who is going to follow this individual? That would be paramount in their mind.
We've got to say it is a hard job in the middle of a recession, being Treasury Minister is not the most popular job, we've got to admit. And I totally agree with you that the Treasury Minister, well, I disagree in one way. I think it's the Chief Minister now. The goalpost has changed since he's come out. You know, he should be voted for. But people should be held to account. And the question where I can't seem to get an answer to is, look at the mess, in my opinion, the mess and shambolic mess that's in the Home Affairs Minister made with the Wiltshire report, the disgraceful handling of growing power, the millions of pounds he's been allowed to spend on what's been called a personal vendetta against the Chief of Police, yet nobody says a word. Then we've got the housing. We're having to put 27 million quid into housing because it was allowed to get into a ramshackle state.
Yes.
The hospital, you name it. Not one of these ministers have been pulled over the coals. Why not? Why now the Treasury? This is what I don't understand. Is none of these people, the hospital is in a hell of a mess, education, Home Affairs, ED, not one minister has ever been called to account for any of it. Why the Treasury Minister, and why now?
I think the system as a whole has been unaccountable for a long time. I think we are also often unaccountable at the polls, like the Health Minister doesn't, obviously, were she to go to an election, she doesn't go to an election in a rural parish saying, this is how I've handled the health department, do you think I should continue as head of the health department? The elections are not done in that fashion, I'm afraid. We don't go with party manifestos and people judge our record, did we or did we not achieve what was in the manifesto? I think why now, partly because Senator Ozoff is a highly divisive character amongst the population as well as within the states. And some of that may be because he's very active, he's very energetic, and you know the old story, you can't make omelettes without breaking eggs. I don't deny that that's a factor. he's a very divisive character, and partly because one of the very independent officers that we have in the States to report on how we handle ourselves has reported very adversely. We've got, or we thought we had, I know there are attempts to rubbish it, we thought for once we had some very, very convincing evidence from an unimpeachable source.
Well, so to wrap up, because this new, a lot of us say there's very little, if any, participation from the new incumbents to the states now. It's just dying a death, to be honest with you. So with hopefully the Treasury Minister being held to account, will we start seeing votes of no confidence in the Health Minister, especially the Home Affairs Minister, for the amount of money he's been allowed to waste on a wild goose chase? Will we start seeing these people being held to account?
I hope we will, Neil. But when you consider a vote of no confidence, you've got to you make an assessment of what the situation is in the House. I mean, that's not to say you go into everyone thinking you're going to win, but obviously you'd be stupid not to make an assessment of what the level of support is. So that will only happen if we can come up with, in my view, where there's a sufficient level of support. And it also helps if there is somebody in the wings who the House feels, or who the opponents of the minister feel is prepared to and can do a good job.
Well,
so no, it's not. At the moment, it's not satisfactory. I admit that entirely.
It's certainly not satisfactory, and we hope there will be a new era of people being held to account, because this is where a lot of my viewers and a lot of the general public are, because no one is accountable. We'll look forward to see if there is a vote of censure or a vote of no confidence. If the Treasury Minister survives this vote of censure, or if he loses this vote of censure, will be interesting to see if anybody brings a vote of no confidence in the Council of Ministers or Ian Gorse.
Okay.